Welcome to the last section in chapter 12. Today we're going to be talking about 12.5, circles in a coordinate plane. To start out with, theorem 12.16, we're going to talk about the equation of a circle. So if we have a circle that has a center at the point HK and it has a radius of R, this equation right here is how we're going to write it. We're going to do x minus the x coordinate of our center, so x minus h squared, plus, then we're going to take y minus the y coordinate of our center, so y minus k squared, and we're going to set that equal to our radius squared. Now the one thing to keep in mind with this is these minus signs. Okay, so whatever the sign is in the center, in the equation it's going to be the opposite. So if it's a positive 2 in the center, it's going to be a minus 2 in the equation. Same thing if it's a minus 3 in the center, it's going to be a plus 3 in the equation. So, for example, we've got, what is the standard equation of a circle with the center of 5, negative 2, and a radius of 7? So, here's my h, that's 5, k is a negative 2. So my equation is going to be x minus my x coordinate, 5 squared, plus y minus my y coordinate, well, it's minus a negative 2, so that turns it into plus 2 squared, and I'm going to set that equal to my radius squared. So if I wanted to clean this up here, x minus 5 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 7 squared, which is 49. Yep. Give it the second one a try, pause the video, and when you're ready to go ahead and hit play, see how you did. Alright, so this is the equation we should have gotten. The center is positive 3, positive 5, so in our equation it's going to be minus 3 and minus 5, so x minus the x coordinate of 3 squared plus y minus the y coordinate of 5 squared, and we're going to set that equal to our radius of 6 squared, which is 36. Our next type of problem, we're going to use the center and a point on the circle to come up with our equation. So for our first example, what is the standard equation of the circle with the center of 4, 2 that passes through the point 2, negative 3? So we know the center, we know what h and k are, but we don't know what r is. And what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to take these 2 points that they're given, and we're going to find that distance to find our radius. Now we're going to have to use that distance formula. So if you remember the distance formula, it's the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay, so it doesn't matter which point is x1 and y1, which one is x2 and y2, so we just have to pick one. So for part A, we got our r is going to be the square root of x minus x squared plus y minus y squared. So I've got 4 minus 2 squared plus 2 minus a negative 3 squared. Well, 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 minus a negative 3 is the same as 2 plus 3, so I get 5. I get 2 squared is 4. 5 squared is 25. Add those two together and I get the square root of 29. Now when you get something like this, you want to leave it in this form, and I'm going to show you why here in a second. So now I know my radius is the square root of 29. I've got my center. So when I go to write my equation, I do x minus the x coordinate squared, so I've got x minus 4 squared, plus y minus my y coordinate squared, and I'm going to set that equal to my radius squared. Well, here's my radius, the square root of 29. If you take the square root of 29 and square it, the only thing that's going to happen is the square is going to cancel out with the square root. So I'm going to get it on the right side here. I'm going to have 29 as my answer. That's why we want to leave it in that form. It's very simple to square a square root. Same thing with our second example. We've got our center at 4, 3, and it passes through the point negative 1, 1. So again, we have to find our radius first. It'll be x minus x, so 4 minus a negative 1 squared, plus y minus y, so 3 minus 1 squared. 4 minus a negative 1 is just like adding 1, so it's going to be 5 squared. 3 minus 1 squared is going to be 2 squared. And I get 25 plus 4, so I'm working with the square root of 29 again. Okay, so now when I go to write out my equation, x minus the x coordinate squared, so I got x minus 4 squared, plus y minus the y coordinate squared. I'm going to set it equal to my radius squared, and again, when you're squaring a square root, the only thing that happens is the square root goes away. So I get x minus 4 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 29. The last thing we're going to be doing in 12.5 is we're going to be graphing a circle given the equation. Okay, so when we're doing this, there's two pieces of information that we need. We need to know where the center is, and we need to know what the radius of our circle is. Okay, so the center again comes from inside the two parentheses. Okay, so if I have a minus 3 with my x, that means my x coordinate of my center is a positive 3. Remember, those are always opposite of each other. If I have a plus 2 with the y, that means my center is at negative 2. With the radius, I take what it is equal to, 36. The square root of 36 would give me my radius of 6. So now when I go to graph this, I find 3, negative 2, and I put my point there. Okay, and notice how they're all counting by 2's. So there's where 3, negative 2 is. And I'm going to go 6 to the left, 6 to the right, 6 up, and 6 down. So there's 6 to the right, there's 6 to the left roughly, and then 6 up, 6 down, and then I'm just going to do my best to draw a circle containing all of these points. Okay, so that's going to be a circle with the center at 3, negative 2, and a radius of 6. Okay, so for the last one here, pause the video, do the work on your own, and then when you're ready to check it, go ahead and hit play and see how you did. Okay, so for this one, the center, I found it to be 2, negative 1. Again, how we get that, if it's a minus 2 with the x, it's going to be a positive 2 in the center. And if it's a plus 1 with the y, it's going to be a minus 1 in the center. And finally, for my radius, it's 3. It was equal to 9. Square root of 9 is 3. And then there's my picture on the graph there. I got to 2, 1, negative 1 as my center, and I went 3 in all 4 directions, and then I just drew the best circle that I could.